Alright, Summoners, this is MP Blaze of New Nation. Today I have two separate war videos. One is versus 4 Loki and the other is against SAS. Only a couple fights here from 4 Loki just to see some unique interactions of what you haven't seen in my prior videos. Biggest thing is this Archangel with the white Magneto pre-fight versus Juggernaut. Normally Juggernaut's stun immune when he's unstoppable, but for some reason the passive stun kicks in and prevents that from happening, which makes this a very straightforward parry-heavy fight the entire way. You'll see I'll try to reparry from a block instead of letting him throw his specials and just build the neurotoxins and let him die. There are a couple times I kind of rely on the stun from the neurotoxin just out of instinct or out of habit without realizing that the limber node or the limber on the node is going to reduce that stun timer. But you'll see it's not really an issue. We're just parry heavy here. And he goes down quick. And that's the end of that. So was just really surprised that I was able to stun him while he was unstoppable. Okay, going into this next fight is the boss fight. We had Immortal Hulk as the boss for the first time we faced for Loki in BG1. I am going to use Killmonger. Since Killmonger works against a MODOK boss here, it's pretty much the same game plan except for dealing with his immortal at the end. So it's just being very careful at the end not to rely on block in case he goes into his immortal phase and goes unblockable. But game plan, build the SP1, bait his SP1, used my SP1 for some free unstoppable charges to create counter punch in case I do trigger protect, which I do a couple times. And then just bait his SP1 for an easy retaliate and build that true strike or land that true strike. So that's all you'll see here. I do have a game plan for the end, and it's when we're in 15% to let the bleeds build and build to an SP3 and try to finish him with the bleeds instead of having to rely on contact while he's unblockable, or just to reduce some of the healing from the immortal. You will see right here, try to counter punch and I'm a little slow and he ends up parrying. Happens when you use Ghost if you're a little too slow to retaliate after a miss. So I just kind of tighten up and don't let that happen again. But 2 hits took quite a bit of health. Each one was, I think, 5k or a little more. So just sticking with the game plan, retaliate SP1, use SP1. There, I triggered protect. Now I'm going to do a couple hits back off and counter punch him just to remove the protect. Rinse and repeat. We're starting to build those bleed charges. With Killmonger, we're not in the window where we want to drop an SP3 yet, so we're going to stick with the SP1 just to take care of any pesky protects that we trigger during the rest of the fight. Being faster on our counter punches so we don't get parried. I do not have the void synergy, so a parry will not get shrugged, or a stun will not get shrugged if I do trigger it again. His SP1 is very, very easy to retaliate, so he's not a difficult challenge when it comes to that. And Killmonger is not a large champ, so knockdown isn't going to help with getting rid of protect either. So it's really just relying on those counter punch charges. But I do this all the time with MODOK, so it's not any different. We just don't have to deal with making sure True Strike stays up so that we don't ever have to deal with auto block. All right, so he's getting close. I think I throw one more SP1. It depends on where I'm at. I think we're in range. We're going to go ahead and build to SP3 and try to drop it and get those bleeds, reducing the healing near the end. So here we go. We got a very, very, very good stack of bleeds on him, so it's probably going to do a bunch of damage as soon as we drop that SP3. And here we go. All right, so he's going to tick down. It's going to trigger. Now he's unblockable. which is a little bit of a worry, but it just means we have to retaliate specials or hit into his block, which we're going to do here. And just wait it out, and he healed back, and now it's back to the game plan. Get rid of the rest of the health and end him. And down he goes. So just wanted to show you guys, we don't always get an Immortal Hulk. It was a victory. We actually died one last time than our second matchup against 4 Loki. And that was the end of that war. Okay, and then going into our third war, which is against SAS. I do have quite a unique war here, as I'm not bringing Quake, and I'm actually bringing my rank 2 Red Hulk. I ended up taking Path 9 in Section 1. So Omega Red, not actually a difficult fight at all. I do have full suicides on with Rolk, so this fight goes pretty quick. You'll notice I am parry heavying quite a bit. That's just to keep my distance. And then I believe I alternate with combos and parry heavy. So just keeping the spore damage low so that I don't take any additional damage after that bleed ticks away. Rolk is nice for this path because he is both incinerate and poison immune, or purifies it to build his heat charges. So his damage just goes up. His secondary damage goes up on this node. So there's not really a window of worrying about having to hit into block or parry a lot just to save time. And he goes down. Nice and easy. What was really big was this next fight against Airwalker. You have to play Airwalker a special way so that you don't build Dark Tide, and that's by blocking the second or the last hit of any special attack. This node does have Power Focus 1, so he's going to build to SP1 pretty quickly and then slow down afterwards. So it's going to be a lot of SP1s thrown. Since Rolk does not nullify the Power Cosmic, nor does he power gain like crazy, like most Mystics with MD, those would be the other 2 ways to get or to prevent Dark Tide buildup. So I have to be smart about baiting SP1 and blocking the last hit. Game plan for Rolk for attack is just punch him in the face, build the SP3, drop the SP3, and then do as much damage as possible while the incinerates are running. I was a little interested to see how this fight goes. I was a little worried I was going to take a lot of damage through Dark Tide dot or get the passive on me, but I didn't need Rolk later, so that's not really too much of a worry if I did end up with the Dark Tide passive when the fight ended. But you'll see here, I actually managed it pretty well. We're not even, or we just got to SP3 and he's already below 50% health, so was not a difficult fight. And it was fun to change up and actually bring Rolk to war, even though he's rank 2. Blocking that last hit, and then just punch in the face. And down he goes. Nice and easy, Path 9 with suicides. Alright, so next few fights where it gets interesting. I ramped up G99 in Section 2, because I am taking that Warlock boss, but I have the 3 mini bosses to the right before taking Warlock. Probably should have had someone Quake this King Groot in case I did trigger Protect, but I decided to stay in Curse of Blood with Claire and just spam SP2 in hopes that I don't trigger Protect, and if I do, try to intercept. See that this fight actually goes by quicker than I thought it was going to, and that I don't believe I trigger Protect through the whole fight. So she actually worked out pretty well in Curse of Blood. It's probably just because her hits on the SP2 don't do a lot of damage or don't crit a lot with each hit. So sometimes she works out and doesn't actually trigger Protect, and we're already 40 seconds in. He's pretty much at 50% health. So as soon as I got to this point, I was actually not too worried about triggering Protect for the rest of the fight. I was actually quite pleased that she worked out as a pretty good counter, despite the global. But I stay in Blood because he's immune to bleed, so I can build charges faster and therefore gain power faster and therefore always be able to nullify both his fury and his regen buff so that he's not unblockable during this fight. Almost at a minute and a half, and he's pretty much gone. Just a little bit more, baiting out that SP1, and we finish him here with the SP2. So, wasn't bad, full health, and we didn't trigger protect. Alright, so next I'm taking Claire on Polka Dot Power, Stun Reflect. Or I'm taking Claire versus Magneto on Polka Dot Power, Stun Reflect. I wasn't worried about this fight going in, but I did know I had to force intercept in order to change stances into either Plagued or Hellfire so that I can stun him. But you'll see I did a bunch of duels. This fight got really complicated, and I was having troubles finding openings to just land attacks and build power. So I can't force him to throw a heavy because he'll go unstoppable, and Claire can't reliably nullify the unstoppable. So my hope was to kind of try and intercept him somewhere around here just to switch stances to place a poison on him. And you see I got intercepted there, so just wasn't going well. There was something I practiced in a duel, got him there, so I was able to switch to Plague. And it was firing a heavy from way out here to get rid of it. And you see it worked there. What you'll see as the fight goes on is that it doesn't always work. Sometimes she doesn't, or she does not actually recover fast enough. So I tried to intercept again there to try and get into Hellfire. Got into Hellfire now. So should kind of sort of be good. Now we got to figure out areas. I could possibly drop this SP1 just to get rid of the Stun Reflect so that I can stun him, which probably would have been the smartest play in my opinion as soon as I changed stances, to just keep firing SP1 or intercepting him with an SP1. Because you can see here, I'm not creating a lot of windows. Missed him with the SP1 there. So now I'm in assassin range and parry isn't 100%. So things are getting a little dicey here. I'm a little worried I'm probably not going to make it out of this. I decided maybe I'm going to just throw these SP1s and intercept him. I did try the heavy again a couple times. Luckily, I'm making sure parry sticks before I throw anything. I built to an SP2 because I thought it would be the most damage. It does a good chunk, but it didn't do much for creating more of a window. So here I'm going to start throwing SP1s. Luckily, he doesn't retaliate after throwing that into his block. Now we got some windows. Now we're pretty much, the Incinerates are going to push me to SP1 with Polka Dot Power. And we made it out. It was a very sketchy fight. In the future, I'll probably just spam SP1s. All right, so moving on to this Manthing. We are taking it with Claire. I've done this fight before versus Kenobi, and I actually almost timed out one time, so I think I might have just had my masteries adjusted so I didn't trigger protect. But one thing to remember with Manthing is that he reduces your crit damage. So it's actually pretty hard to trigger protect against him off of basic attacks or special attacks. So I didn't change my mastery this time. We have the white Magneto pre-fight so that I can parry stun him reliably throughout the entire fight. And I'm going to switch to Plagued so that I can be poison immune and avoid that. So I will get free armor breaks to kind of heal up. The biggest worry here is watching out for his power gain through MD anytime a spore gets nullified or pops on me. It is bait SP1. You will see I block it quite a bit. That's just so that I don't miss the timing and end up backing up and taking the arm to the face anyways. I am going to spam SP2, which is going to power drain him with every hit, just enough to keep him from landing in the SP3 range. So I am pretty aggressive, pushing him to SP1, pushing myself to SP2, firing SP2 as soon as I have it, as long as I'm not close to an SP3, and just rinse and repeating this fight. And like I said, the Kenobi fight almost felt like it was a timeout, like it was a 4-minute and 30-second fight. So this one seems to be going a little bit faster, and I think it's because I didn't change my masteries to prevent myself from triggering protect. having the white Magneto pre-fight is pretty big here because the node does have limber, and that stun duration on the passive timer isn't affected by it. So it means I can always create an opening against this guy, which isn't always a big deal. You can just bait out his heavy and he is unstoppable, but the unstoppable drops before the animation ends, so there is still a window. Plus, if I've got buff immunity up with Claire, it prevents that unstoppable anyways. So, but he is very tanky. He's got quite a bit of health, and that reduction in crit damage slows things down a little bit. But again, just as long as we stick with the game plan and not let him get close to SP3, it should be good. Should be a pretty straightforward fight. I do have MD maxed. I usually do anytime I play a Mystic, which helps get to that SP2 even faster. And I usually feel like it helps Claire. There are only a couple of champs that I feel like MD kind of ruins the cycle of, like Doom. You have to be careful with having max MD for Doom. So we're at 2.5 minutes in, and he's almost in assassin range. So this fight is definitely going faster than the last time I took him here. Trying to bait out these specials. Never want this guy to get to SP3 and ruin you. Pretty sure I was out of invulnerability boosts as well, just because the loyalty store hadn't been refreshing them as often as normal. But you'll see Claire, even with brute force on this node, Claire is pretty much at full health just because of those armor break willpower heals. So it's a pretty safe fight. And down he goes. So we had more than a minute left. All right, so now we have this Warlock boss. I am taking it with G99 ramped, and this is the first time I've ever done this fight. You'll see here that I'm going to do something pretty stupid and use a combat regen for this fight. And it was really me just sitting here thinking, man, the guys are going to kill me if I die to this fight and I didn't use a gray boost. So I used the gray boost. Now, why is that stupid? Well, you're going to see why that's stupid. As soon as I build up to the point where I get infected, it is actually going to interact with the infection and power drain and degen me. It's not very long, but it is enough to make me think, well, crap, probably shouldn't have done that. Anyways, and there it goes. Degenning down, degenning down, degenning down. And I wasted a gray boost. I even started the fight with a handicap. So, game plan here. Push him to SP2. How we do that is push him till about 1 bar of power or just a little over, but we don't end our combo. We go straight into a block. We hold block, bait a heavy, and then when he fires the heavy, we retaliate and keep pushing him and rinse and repeat that until he gets an SP2. Then we get him to fire SP2. Our special attack is just going to be us using SP2. That's it. That's all the game plan is. Warlock does have a quick heavy, and it is hard to retaliate without getting parried. So you have to be on your toes, and you have to duel a lot to understand what you're looking for to tell that a heavy is coming. A lot of times, if they go straight into a heavy after I finished a combo, I don't try to retaliate because I'm a little bit slower at recognizing that it's coming. But anything outside of that, it's a little bit easier to recover from and retaliate. So you'll see here, pretty smooth fight, following that game plan. We're not stopping our combo short and dashing back. Most likely the AI is going to throw a special if you do that. We are instead going straight to block. And then when he has SP2, using it. It does help to know what their finishing combo looks like, finishing move to a combo looks like, so that you can retaliate that instead of continuing to take blocked hits. And this should be the last special, and he goes down. So, first Warlock boss, I made it close because of my own stupidity, but it ended up working out. We ended up tying this war, and it is most likely what caused us to fall or not reach first or second place. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button and follow me on Twitter, and keep your eyes out for the next one.